Smith-Jones, and I'm going to ask you just to sit there for just a very few minutes, all right? I want to share with you some of her professional accomplishments and some of the things that she's doing today now that she's not with us here in Hopewell. Dr. Smith-Jones first earned her bachelor's at Norfolk State in 1979, got 18 graduate hours in reading, went on to get her master's in 1988 from William & Mary. She then was awarded her education specialist from William & Mary in 1993, earned her doctorate in education from William & Mary in 1997. Dr. Smith-Jones continues in her professional preparation. As of late, she has been to New Zealand and Australia to meet a renowned researcher, John Hattie. She went there to study his work and observe his theories in action in the classrooms. She traveled with some of her colleagues from CERN from William & Mary. She has compiled research from John Hattie's Visible Learning with CERN's Principals Academy at William & Mary and with Drs. Roselle and Hyman. She is truly a lifelong learner. Dr. Smith-Jones is known, I would say, all over the United States and maybe in Australia and New Zealand because she doesn't leave a room without a wake, right? Because we know she's been there when she comes in. But in her professional capacity, she has spread the news of math literacy. She has talked about frameworks for teaching struggling children. She has led school leadership teams and helped principals better their buildings. She is well known, as I said. She has presented at the Tidewater Council Teaching of Mathematics Conference. She has presented at Virginia State University, at UVA Richmond Center, at the VASCD, at Hampton City Schools. She presented at the annual William & Mary CERN Leadership Academy starting in 2012 and continues to do that. She presents at VCU, at the Chesterfield County Schools Instructional Academy. She did a symposium in Roanoke for DOE. I could go on and on because she is an incredible educator. Interestingly, she started her education career in New Kent, right down the road here, not far from us, as a science teacher in 1979, and she stayed there until 1988 when Hopewell took her in 1988, and she served as the principal at Arlington Elementary School. Now, oddly enough, that school closed under her tenure, and she moved to Woodlawn Elementary School, where she worked from 1990 to 1993, and then that school closed under her. I'm not sure what you were doing there. But we kept getting bigger and better, and we had more facilities, and we just moved Yvonne right on along to lead those buildings as those buildings became fuller and fuller with children. She was the principal of Harry E. James from 1993 until 1997. And in that year, she came here to the school board office and has served in the capacity of the instructional leader, supervisor director of science and technology. And that is the role that she was playing when she unfortunately left us in 2010. But do not fear, she didn't stop. As you probably know, she continues to be an adjunct instructor for the Math and Science Partnership Program at William & Mary, which she began in 2005. She continues as an adjunct instructor at Mary Baldwin College. She is on the leadership coach team for School University Research CERN at William & Mary and continues to do that to present. She addition to all of that work, she's published. She's published in the VSCD newsletter, twice in the Journal of Mathematics and Science, and has published an information brief for Project Hope Virginia. And I know that she's probably working on something as we speak as well, probably for publishing. Dr. Smith-Jones, believe it or not, has time for other things. And one might be surprised that she can find time to do other things. She currently serves on the Charles City County Board of Zoning Appeals, the Charles City County Planning Commission. She is appointed to the School of Education Development Board at William and Mary. In addition to that, outside of her career, she is on the Board of Directors for the Charles City Civic League and Medical Center. And why are we not surprised? She is a board member for the Youth Council in Charles City, because this woman's life has been about children. It really has. And fortunately for the adults in her life now, she is affecting positive change in every school that she walks into. I'm humbled to know you, and it's probably better that I ask Ms. Hyslop to share some highlights of y'all's good old days.
Well, I'm going to speak from the heart, and I'm not going to, my voice is so bad, so you'll just have to understand, but I'm going to speak from my heart for the simple fact that several years ago, it was typical for us, a central office, to have an elementary supervisor, secondary supervisor, and that was about it. But then this idea came up about having specialists, people who really knew instruction in key areas. And for that, we turned around here in Hopewell. This was even before SOLs, which I think back how wonderful we were in the ballpark before that time. And along came Yvonne Smith-Jones. Math, science, technology. She would come into my office with an idea of her own and take forth and run with it. I would have some kind of, make a statement about an idea, she would take it and run with it. She did so much. She was always, always in the buildings, working with math teachers, working with science teachers, elementary teachers, being there, right there, watching the kids, caring about the kids, and doing so much for the kids. She believed in teacher leadership. She started the leadership program. We went into all kinds of different directions in getting support through CERN, through Virginia State, through all kinds. She'd think, well, we need money. We need tutors. We need mentors. She would go out and do it. And always, always worked to her fingers to the bone. And I would just smile when she'd come with another good idea. It was a great team. We had a working team together, and I used to tell my teachers when I was principal that I was only as good as the teachers made me look. Well, when I was working in the central office, I was only as good as my staff, my instructional leaders, my supervisors made me. And she was one of the top. So, I give you.
If you were ever a student in one of the buildings that Dr. Smith-Jones principaled, would you raise your hand? Okay, if you were ever a teacher in one of the, oh, was there a student? Okay. How about any teachers who ever worked for Dr. Smith-Jones?
College student.
Yeah, lots back there. Any colleagues that taught with, principaled with, done college research with? Are you colleagues of Dr. Smith-Jones? Raise your hand, please. Yeah, the room's full of people who are, yeah, your little fan club of Dr. Smith-Jones. Before I ask Dr. Fahey and Dr. Henry to give our formal presentation. We had the pleasure, several of us, Dr. Behringer and Ms. Brumfield and I, went over to Principal Joyce Jones's school, Woodlawn Learning Center, this week for one of her many Black History programs. And when we walked in, I'm guessing there were about 120 4-year-olds. Okay, I counted it. And the Brigadier General from Fort Lee was reading to them. He had them in the palm of his hand. They were so engaged with that gentleman. And we wondered if he had been a teacher. He even set a purpose for what he was getting ready to read. And we got excited about that. But all of the children had these little sticks. And on the stick, they had names of great African Americans. And, you know, Obama, I saw Arthur Ashe, I saw Oprah Winfrey. But that poor little boy did not know what was coming when I went over to him and said, "Can I have your stick?" So to you.
I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Henry as chair of the board, but before I do, you'll see a few people, this high stuff, and we wear these little hope pins, and we know Dr. Yvonne Smith-Jones, you're all about hope. So I make these about 1 or 2 a day, just depending on how much therapy I need. And I made you a hope pin. And yours is bigger than everybody else's. I got a teeny one, you got a big one. Because we know you're all about hope. So this is one of your little gifts. I'll give you a wristband and a bumper sticker too if you want. And then we also have these little Learn Well and Hopewell pins too. But you know, these we buy. These are made by hand for you, and I just am honored that you're here. And I'm just looking at the audience, and I mean, this has got to be one of the most astute group of people I've ever seen to come in this room. When I have superintendents that come to Hopewell to recognize someone, you know you've got someone pretty powerful to recognize. So let me give you your pin. I'll let you play with it any way you want. And Dr. Henry,
I get the honors of reading this plaque. I have to say, Dr. Smith-Jones and I have had some fun through the years, teasing each other about William and Mary and Richmond ball games, and sometimes I'd win, sometimes she'd win. But, you know, we had fun with that. I'm going to read you the plaque. This signifies the Hopewell City School Board recognizes Yvonne D. Smith-Jones for distinguished service 1988 to 2010 in celebration of African American History Month, February 12, 2015. Hopewell